Hello, welcome to this screencast on embedding maths. A quick question for you to start us off. How often do you use calculations, measurements and/or graphs in your subject lessons? And how often do you point out their importance to your students? Well, unless you're a maths or science teacher, you might not think about this too much, but these are actually important questions when you're considering how effectively you embed maths in your lessons. So first, let's talk about what it means to embed maths and why it's necessary, and then after that we can consider further how it's done, both on a college-wide basis and within our lessons. So by embedding maths, well, first of all, on the whole college level, it means it's a responsibility of managers, but also most effective when we all take a collective responsibility as an institution to bring on the numeracy skills of the students. From the perspective of individual taught lessons, embedding maths means taking opportunities to bring on students' maths skills from one lesson to the next when we're teaching our own subjects. So why should we do this? Well, there's actually a reported fall in national standards in recent years, and conversely there's a growing need for numeracy skills to respond to a global data revolution. There are vast amounts of data being generated that need interpreting, and a recent report by the British Academy suggests that our economy would be greatly benefited if our population was equipped with the skills to interpret all of this data. And of course, numeracy also supports us all as consumers to make sensible decisions, from investing in financial assets to just weighing up options in the supermarket from one day to the next. But at the moment, the UK is actually reportedly the only country where the previous generation is more numerate than the current one. So standards have been in decline, and many people are understandably recommending that we reverse this trend. In FE, of course, as FE lecturers, we're on the front line for enabling this to happen, and that's why the government want to address it by encouraging a national collective approach in schools and colleges, and not just by maths and science teachers, but by every teacher. And Ofsted are looking for this good practice at all, and certainly better practice than what they're currently seeing, as you can see here in their further education and skills report from a couple of years ago, well, from last year. Okay, so this is what Ofsted would like to see, and obviously you can pause that as and when you wish, but this is the important one that I wanted to just look at in terms of what's expected of teachers. How do we do this? How do we embed maths in our lessons, and what does it look like, and how would it be graded a good, for example? Well, it says for a good, you develop, where appropriate, the maths skills to prepare students for their future progression. So it's where appropriate. In other words, when maths comes up, point to it and develop it as far as you can. For outstanding, you actually promote maths, so you take it one step further. So how do we do it? Well, here's a list of some suggested opportunities to use math skills in the classroom. Apart from these generic approaches, which again you can pause on if you wish to take a closer look at, we should also consider where we can take opportunities within our specific subject content. You personally will know best on this as you teach your subject. But just as an example, let's look at what we do in one of my subject areas, music technology. So in music technology, we measure, for example, the envelope of a sound, which is its volume over sound. Its volume over time. And this, of course, allows us to talk about the axes of a graph, in this case volume and time, the proportions of either a measured waveform or a sound's envelope, as we call it. This here is the sound of a cymbal, represented in a linear fashion as it would be measured on an oscilloscope. And you can see straight away, if this axis is volume and this is time, it gets quieter over time. It comes in suddenly and then gradually fades off. So some valuable ways of measuring things and considering things and visualizing things presented in graphical form. Speaking of which, this pie chart is self-explanatory and really informative for our students in their music business lessons. And we encourage students to engage with and understand and draw on these sorts of statistics and these kind of diagrams and graphs. And we take time in our lessons to ensure all students, including those with lower initial assessment levels, actually get it, they can read it, they can engage with it. So we have to look at data. What are the students' prior achievement levels? What is it appropriate to present to them and expect them to be able to interpret? Or at least, what might they need a little bit more help on? As you can see here, we've got a range of levels within this one class who shall remain anonymous, from entry 2 all the way up to level 2. There's a big difference there in prior attainment and initial assessment levels. What do those different levels mean? This is a great website to look at to work that out, so you can actually work out what your students should be capable of, and so what you're able to present to them, or what they might need a little bit more help with mathematically, for you to point at and explain. So for more information on these different skill levels or anything else numeracy related, please contact Zoe Baker or myself at the following email addresses. There's also this example online. If you type this into Google, it's Ofsted have actually published this as a great example of a college up north with an effective numeracy support system, so in New College Durham. Feel free to take a look at that. It's summarised here, so again you can pause it here. And last of all, thanks for watching and good luck embedding numeracy in your lessons. Hope this has been of help.